Thank you very much, Zach, and everyone at In Situ Studio, and also everyone that helped this happen. I'm terribly sorry that I couldn't be there in person with you. It's just that I couldn't manage uh, to organize some last minute things. So hopefully I'll be invited on another occasion. Thanks everyone for making time to listen to me to join everyone there, even though they're giving you free beer. Uh, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about my practice and mostly of how we try to do architecture, um, and I'm more interested in transmitting to you the process of how we work more than just showing the finalized pictures of each project, because that we can see or we can look for on the internet, and the process, which for me is more important in some ways, it just stays in the architecture office, and for me, since I'm not good at or I'm not that good at lecturing, for me it's easier to try to explain the process of how we make things and architecture uh, in a way. So I'll try and be as clear as possible. Uh, but if you wanna ask a question or just interrupt in any, feel free. I want this to feel more as if we were in person and have just a more fluent conversation that a conference, because I'm not that good at, and I haven't done it a lot. So please excuse me if I can manage to put things together, but for sure I'll do my best. So thanks again, everyone. And if you have trouble hearing the audio or whatever, or the images, just let me know, please, so I can stop and take a few seconds. So that's Mexico. Of the little dot in the middle, it's Mexico City. We have 126 million inhabitants in the whole country, and 26 million in Mexico City. Uh, and this is just a glimpse of what Zach talked about in the introduction. It's just a quick glimpse of the vast richness that Mexico has. I can't talk specifically about each and every picture or each and every place, but as Zach said or referred to, this has had a great impact in my life and in my work and in everything I do, and I always try and think about this richness, this architecture, these places, spaces, time, um, and all that is all over the country. Then again, Mexico City, as I was telling you, is around. Well, that number was some time ago. I think it's a little bit over 23 million inhabitants in the city. So as you can see, it's a huge city. And Mexico City is literally constructed on layers, layers upon layers on top of each other. The bottom image is a pyramid. The middle one is this colonial architecture, and then the top one is a modern house. So they're in most parts of the city. They're built one on top of each other, and so we still have some parts of the city that we can manage and look and live on those three cultures or three periods of history of time that went by in Mexico City. This is a place that I like very much, which is near the center of the city, a place that's called Tlatelolco. Some of you have heard because there are tons of things that happened over the years in that place. But one great thing is that we have the ancient pyramids on the first part of the picture. Then on the back we have this church, and then at the far end we have these modern buildings made by Mario Pani. And this is Mexico City. The painting on the left was Mexico around 500 years ago, when the Aztecs lived there and founded the city between a great lake. And that's an image that I like, a painting, that I like very much. It's made by Dr. Atl, and it's how Tenochtitlan was made and seen a long time ago. And the one on the right side is a picture recently from 2018 by Santiago Arau. And the thing that I want to mention is I don't want to sound nostalgic and say this is what we had and now look at this vast gray concrete slab all over the city. No, not in that way. I believe Mexico City is one of the greatest cities around. So it's not a complaint, but I want to mention that we used to have a lake, and then on the center of the lake a small city, and now we have a city with no lake. So that has a great impact in Mexico, in Mexico City, because we built the city on top of a lake, and we have earthquakes, and we have a very long rainy season, and the city every year tells us again that we can't forget where the city was and where the city is now. So me as an architect, I try to understand and bring up that information in the ways that I approach each and every one of my projects, so that we don't forget those yearly announcements that nature brings back and reminds us how fragile we are as a city. And then after the Spanish colonization, the city started to sprawl around. We started to live outside the city in these big haciendas, imported some European urban plans. And then afterwards, in the beginning of the 20th century, these parts outside the city that were all destined for weekend getaways or just big haciendas, the city started sprawling in a way that it couldn't be stopped. And as you can see, in a 20-year gap, these colonies started really to get dense, And why I'm telling you this is because those parts of the city are the ones that I'm gonna share 2 or 3 projects that are in the middle of the city in those specific areas. And that's Mexico City again, as it is now. Again, for me, it's a great city. I love living there. It's a monster, obviously, in many ways, but I assure you, it's a great place. I'm gonna just want to clarify that this introduction it's just a small glimpse of tons of talks and explanations that I have to give you, really, to understand and explain Mexico City. But since this is not a talk about Mexico City, I just want to put you in a condition that you understand a little bit, just a tiny piece of sand or a piece of I forgot the word, but just a small piece of the city. Those 3 grayer areas are the ones that these projects that I'll be talking about in Mexico City are going to be located. And before I start, I just want to mention the great team that I have, which none of this could have been done if there weren't these guys with me and pushing me in every way and pushing themselves for our architecture, our ideas can become reality. And I'm gonna just talk about 3 subjects that concern me a lot. Probably through the years and over the years, there will be more, hopefully. But right now, I just have 3 that I want to share with you. And the first one is time. That has to do with both the images that you are seeing on the screen. They're 2 exact same houses, one beside the other. The one on the left had just been remodeled, and the one in the right, it was just standing there over the years. And they're both beautiful, of course, but what I want to mention is how time affects, in a positive way, obviously, architecture. And for me, time is a very sorry, I just can't find the exact word, but time is a very important theme. Time is intangible and also innegable. It endows architecture with a worthy aging. You know, this patina. I don't know if that's a correct word in English, but it endows that special area that can only time can give to architecture, and that has to do with materiality and with the correct selection of materials, and if we work with the correct natural material and we anticipate time, the result will be just as amazing as the picture on the right. And then there's common sense and intuition, and I'm gonna just tell the resume anecdote of this place that this is a piece of architecture that wasn't made by an academic architect, or it was just with a simple common sense built. We needed a storage unit for the materials and for us to have meetings on site, and one of the people that were working on the construction site just built that small piece of architecture with common sense and intuition. And as you can see on the picture, there's the structure underneath, just these wooden beams holding up the little piece of architecture. And then there is the window framing, just as it is, a rail for the window to open and close. And and then on top, it's just a tilted roof that you can see on the left side of the house. You have some holes for the wind to go through, and for that place to just be as comfortable as any other place could be. And that for me is very important, because that's an approach that we do every time that we are trying to make a project, to solve a project, and we just go with common sense and intuition. And then afterwards, it's another special thing for me is site or place. Understand the place that we're working on, and understand and how to react to it or before him. Never trying to scream your way in. Instead, just become part of it. And that, I don't know if you're seeing my mouse or my the arrow over there. Hopefully you are. But that's a building that we made, and that's Mexico City. The rest of the buildings that appear on the picture are the neighbors, and this is one of the pictures that I like the most. That we made afterwards of the building, and it's just that a crude image of Mexico City, a lovely image, and again, not imposing our architecture over the city, over the neighbors, just trying to become silent, a silent neighbor. And these are pictures that I take on my walks every day of the neighbors, and of the things that interest me. In many ways, windows, hallways, arches, balconies, just simply architecture, again, time, and how it affects our daily walks, and so on. So this is a drawing I made of how I wanted to approach the buildings that were going to be built on those specific areas in Mexico City. The drawing on the left is the obvious way of approaching or doing a 3 or 4 story building with one apartment just put on top of each other, and just have the floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, and the 4th floor just stacked one on top of each other, or the other way, which is trying to understand and bring this condition of a home, and that how a home can be a home in a way that it has a patio or a garden, an exterior space, this intimacy. So we decided to go and developed our ideas mainly on the right drawing. So we tried and we work with this main idea to try and bring this sense of home, or just I don't have the word in English specifically. I just have it in Spanish. This hogar. I don't know the correct translation. It's not house, but it's an hogar, a dwelling. And we went on that direction, and this is the first project that I want to talk about. And this project is in La Colonia del Valle in Mexico City. where these two lines cross each other, that's a specific site of the project. So as you can see, it's a very dense urban area, but we have this condition in the middle of the street with these huge, enormous trees that we call them jacaranda. And if anyone has been in Mexico City around March, and the city is all covered in this purple layer, it's because of these jacaranda trees. So that was a great thing that we had around the site. And that's a building afterwards. But again, I don't want to talk about this picture or the results of the architecture. I want to walk you through the process. So that's the site, this light gray area. So as you can see, it's a very narrow site with a lot of depth, because those neighborhoods in Mexico City were started as a individual or one individual housing sites, and then afterwards the developing plans started to change and started to migrate into a more dense development plan. So instead of having single houses on each site, we could squeeze 3, 4, 5, 6 apartments on those same areas, and that's why it has this strange proportion. That's the building seen from the top. And what I want to mention is how we started working with this project. So we started thinking of the empty space that we wanted to work with before we thought of architecture, of the materials, of the inner spaces. We tried to think of these outer free spaces. How could we work with light, ventilation, and afterwards architecture came. So we managed to convince a client that we have to concentrate most of our efforts on those exterior open spaces. And in a way, the discussions with the client went on a direction where I tried to, where I convinced him that if we managed to take the project in the way that we wanted, everybody could win at the end of the game. The developer could have a great project and obviously his money back and so on. But also the new user of the building, the buyer, could also live in a space that could have an exterior space, as I was saying, to really come up with a home instead of just bringing and doing houses in a regular basis, in a regular form. So the approach was that each and every one of the 6 units that we had to squeeze in on the site had to have an exterior patio or a rooftop, every one of them. So again, instead of just bringing the regular approach of one apartment on top of another and on top of another and on top of another, and just the bottom one and the top one could have these exterior spaces, we kind of worked with the vertical circulation stairs. So the red ones, this specific space would connect with this upper space on the second floor, and then this space on the second floor would connect with this space on the first floor. So this red apartment could extend and have this outer patio, and then this apartment on the second level would can come down and extend again to another patio. And the same equation or the same approach could be done on the ones on top. This red one could jump up into the 4th level and could enjoy this rooftop. And then again, this blue one would go down or could enjoy the rooftop. And as I was saying, this is what came afterwards, these exterior spaces, patios, the first two on the left, the 3 on the left, and then this rooftop looking over the jacarandas and the trees on the rooftop. This is the drawings and the models and the 3D models that we made through the process. I won't stop this here much more because we won't have that much time, but this is a model we made of how circulations worked with the inner spaces. So again, as I was telling you, the one on the bottom could enjoy this patio, the one on the top could be again on this patio, and so on, and the back apartments on the farther or the inner patio could be done as a duplex, so they could work the social areas underneath and then the private areas in the middle, and this could extend into another patio, and then the other duplex on top would have the common areas on top, and then could enjoy this exterior outer space on top of the building. Some pictures of the finished building. But what I'm more interested is the intentions with the hand drawings that I made through the process, how we wanted to extend these inner spaces to the patios and bring light and cross ventilation through the spaces. Again, some pictures of the process. We always work with hand drawings, pencil paper, and then we translate it into a concrete, this specifically into a concrete model, and then a little bit of Photoshop, so we can, and then afterwards, obviously the final picture of the building afterwards. So that's mainly the process, how we work. Some inner spaces, and how the intention of just squeezing the windows all the way into a corner, and the whole inner space could extend into these balconies, terraces. And here is one jacaranda that you can see the purple flowers. And here's a jacaranda. And then we have these tremendous opportunities in Mexico that we can also experiment during the construction process of the houses, of buildings, or whatever. And what we did in this building is that we worked in a different way with the I don't know if it's called scaffolding of the concrete. I don't know the word in English, but I forgot the word. Sorry, but we could work on a very specific way of bringing in light through the holes of how you tied up a concrete wall, and instead of doing in the conventional way, we let the light go through the whole thick of the wall, and then the exact camera I don't know how you say it, the exact process of how you develop a picture in a camera could be done on the building, because those dots that you see on the wall is the light coming through the thick concrete wall, just exposing on the wall on the right, and this is the tree, the sky, and the church over there. Then another building that's done in a similar approach of understanding and trying to bring this unity of a house or a home into a 4 or 5 or 5th level, and how we wanted to work with circulations, with stairs, and that's where the project is located. Again, a very dense urban area in the center part of Mexico City. And in this specific project, we had to work with a condition that we couldn't demolish the first part of the house, of the existing house. So we had to leave it as intact as possible. In this specific project, I don't know why they made us do that, because the house had already been altered in so many ways, but that's how the authorities in Mexico sometimes work. So we had to stick to the plan, and we had to let the facade of the first house untouched, and it helped us understand a little bit of how we wanted the building to merge in that neighborhood. And we had to in this specific case, we had to work with 13 units, and we couldn't do more or less, because that's we didn't want to mess up the numbers of the clients and the business of the client. So our approach was again working with patios and understanding the condition of these empty spaces, and how can we think and in a way merge it with the building and with our approach or with our architecture. So the first things that we came up with is how we wanted to relate these darker architectural volumes with this yellow outer space, and then another model. And what we came with is we centralized the service areas, bathrooms, kitchens, and in these darker areas, and then leave the rest of the space as open as possible as we could. So we could have first of all as many light as possible, and of course crossed ventilation, so we could have cooler temperatures in every room, especially in the living and dining. So we had we had this open space, this free plan, just to be as open as possible and to work with anyone's need. And we have a window on the facade through the patios, and then a window in the middle of these inner courtyards. And this, since we had 13 units and we could only work or build up to 5 stories, we had to go on a specifically arrange each unit. So instead of having a complete floor or a whole apartment in just one level. We did them in a level and a half, if I'm saying it correctly. So the picture, the plan on the left and the 3D model on the left are the first floor area of each apartment, as I mentioned, with the intention of this openness across ventilations, the service area concentrated in this part, and then again the room, and you could climb up the stairs, and in the half of the space of the apartment on top, we could use it as the main bedroom, and then the one on the left would be used by the other apartment. So in a way, it's a kind of, you see these angles or Tetris approach. So this is a complete apartment, and then the other one is like that. And how we proceeded with this is we wanted to be to the architecture, for the architecture to speak for itself. So we didn't had to design a facade. It just came up quite obvious, and quite frankly, what we wanted is how each space could relate to the exterior, and so the living, the more social areas could have a floor to ceiling open window and have a balcony, and the bedrooms, we wanted for them to have much more intimacy. So we brought up a wall underneath, and this is how it looks. That's again how each apartment was made. So it's just like a Tetris, squeezing one on top of each other, and the result is this, as I was mentioning, is on the social areas, the living spaces and everything, we had a floor to ceiling open window with a balcony facing the exterior, and then on the bedrooms, we just brought up a concrete slab, if that said correctly, and we could have more intimacy inside each private space. We had this big fixed window, and then a wooden one that could be open for ventilation. And on the center courtyards or patios or interconnection between neighbors, we work with these kind of tilted or tinted glass, if I'm saying it correctly. So you could bring all the light in, but you could not see clearly through. So you have more privacy with your neighbors. And then on top of the building, again, we did the same approach as the other project, where we wanted to have these living spaces, greener spaces on the roof that could be enjoyed as terraces, communal spaces where you could meet up with your neighbors right across the building, and you could have also the most vegetation that could be on top. That's how the building looks from the neighbor building. And as I was telling you, we have these more bigger windows where the social areas are, and these smaller wooden windows where the bedrooms would be placed. And that's how the building looks on this monstrosity of a city, in a positive way, obviously, but how it looks and how it again merges with the context and with the existing condition of the city. And then I'm going to skip into Parral, which is a much smaller project in La Colonia Condesa in Mexico City. Another very dense urban area in the center of the city. By the way, these three projects are just neighborhoods, one beside another, that there are about 20 or 30 minutes away in a walking distance. So they're very similar in their density, in their architecture and all. So that's a building. Again, a very narrow site with more depth than the relation to the street. That's a building. Again, this intention of using the rooftops, bringing the vegetation up, having these intimate spaces. And this is a very small site. It was just 90 square meters, which would be, I think, 900 square feet, maybe, I don't know. But it was a very small place. So we solved, and we had to deliver or to come up with two townhouses. So we solved the project on the center stairs, that we occupied the same space as with both of the two duplexes on this, occupying the same space. So I'm gonna try and put it here. So this stair would be of one neighbor, the other one would come up here, and then he could turn around, climb up, and then again up. And this guy could come up, turn around, climb up, turn around, and then climb up. So you'll be using the same space, but without seeing each other, completely separate in a way. As you can see on the picture on the right, the stairs that the picture was taking, you could see the stair on top, and we just gave a little detail where light could come through and could be seen like through the whole building. Again, some drawings of the process, hand drawings, and then a 3D model in concrete. And this is these are the architecture plans. So this is the street here. Then we have one parking space for each unit, and then the one unit is an interior unit, and the other one is an exterior unit. Each one with 2 bedrooms. That, as I told you, would share the middle space, so we could gain or maybe not lose that much footage, trying to have more circulations. That's how the process of the project and how the space looks now. Again, this intention of connection with the other spaces, this connection with this small patio, with nature, how you could have this bond between this constructed concrete space with this outer more natural way, and then how light comes in. And we work with these models because we also work with renderings, but just to discuss final details with the client. But this is a process that we are most interested in, because we build these models and we could see really how light interacts with our architecture, how light would merge with the interior spaces, how it will look on top of the surface of the material. And again, the drawing, the 3D model, and the final space with a balcony, and this intention of intimacy. That's the back facade of the building, and we are moving on to Valle de Bravo. This is another project that it has a way much bigger site, a complete different context. It's in the middle of the forest. We have a bigger, way bigger area, of course, and we had to come up with 5 houses, and again, that's Mexico. Then the grayer area is El Estado de Mexico, and then Valle de Bravo, which is where the project is located. As you can see, it's very near Mexico City. So this is more of a weekend getaway. It's a little town around 2 hours away from Mexico City. So it's a great place for holidays, for weekend getaways. That's a place that the project is located. As you can see, it's a very dense forest area, and you can see this small part of the lake in the upper left corner. And that are some pictures of Valle de Bravo, this magnificent town. And it's just that this is architecture again done by non-architects, and for me it's really amazing to see and try to understand why it is made that way, with this almost intimate, secret places, just these big walls with these small windows that don't give you a complete clear understanding of how the house is on the interior and all that. And it's all just a very common sense approach of doing things. So that's the site that we were working on. It's a very dense forest, as I was telling you. And that our approach with the project was we should leave as many trees as possible, impact the minimum amount of space on the site. And we also wanted for it to not feel as a regular neighborhood where you could see house 1, house 2, house 3, house 4, and so on. Instead, we wanted it to look as if you couldn't understand where house 1 started and where it ended, and where house 2 started and where it ended, and so on. So that's the relation with the spaces. As you can see to the north, which will be that, which is this area here, would be the entrance and this common space that all the neighbors would share. So we try to position the houses and leave that common space so the neighbors could enjoy or could walk through and just say hi or whatever, or feel more of a community. And then on to the southern part, we would open the masses or the architecture much more, so we could have we could bring way much warmth and light to the interior spaces, because it's a very humid area, sometimes cold in the winter. So we would open them a lot more to the southern part. And that is the this common road, this common area where you could feel and would see each house, but they are not numbered. You really don't. Now that we've been going many times, we obviously know where's the door and everything. But in a way, you don't really understand where one ends and one begins. And these pictures that you're seeing were taken just a month after the construction finished. Right now, all the vegetation is like 2 or 3 meters higher, and you could really feel more integrated and more immersed in the nature. Again, this is a first drawing that I made of how I wanted this project to feel. Just a couple of volumes standing in between the pine trees, and just this quiet architecture, working with the site, with the local materials, and with an approach of using wood, brick, soil. And these pictures, I like them a lot, because this is the intention of what I was telling you, of how it would look. And really, you really wouldn't understand where one house ended and when the other one started. You don't have a wall dividing them. It's just a huge vegetation and dividing each garden. And that's how we worked with the local material, which is soil. And we mixed it up with cement and with cal. That's another material that we use a lot in Mexico. And that's how we finished all the walls of the project. So it was a nice approach. So architecture could merge really into the surroundings. And this is how the floor plans look. Again, always bringing the pencil, drawing, trying to understand the connection between the inner spaces and the outer spaces, the position, the relation with the courtyard, that the courtyard really evolves around these 6 modules that each house is built up. And there was another thing that we wanted to work with, which was there are no hierarchies on the distribution of the program. There really isn't like a specific vertical circulation. They're just all over the house, so you could come up or down on almost every corner or space of the house. There's a stair that could bring you up or down, so you could wander all around the spaces, and not having just a normal or a central vertical circulation. Sorry. That's how we work. Again, working with models, and we just bring them up to the site, see how light and merges with our intentions, and then the final project done. Again, models. Very basic models in a way. These are our only intention is to really understand how light will go through, how it will react to certain materials, to textures, and again, this, I believe it's the last one. Our intentions with the models, with the hand drawing, how are we seeing the light will go through the space and how it will mix with the interior spaces. Then there's the central courtyard that you saw on the floor plans, that all the houses, the houses surround, all the volumes of the house surround the central courtyard. And the openness that we worked on the southern facade, you know, these huge windows, these vast connections with the terraces, with the water, with the garden. And then this would be another project that is located in Baja California Sur. I'm trying to, I forgot to put on the map, but it's in Los Cabos in Baja California Sur. Sorry about that. And it's a project that is located on the upper part of this big highway that connects Los Cabos, which are two towns on very specific parts of the city. And there's this highway that connects them both. And obviously from the highway to the ocean that you can see over here, it's the most expensive land. It's huge hotels, luxury hotels, all that. And from the highway to upwards to the hills, it's a more lesser luxurious or much lesser, much less pretentious areas. And this is what we came up with. I'll try to explain later, but it's just a very simple approach. We wanted to completely approach this project in a very different way as things are done in Los Cabos, because again, it's all very luxurious, very, I forgot the word. So we wanted to go in the complete opposite direction with a very simple gesture, trying to work with local materials. We worked with sand, and that these are the kind of hotels and architecture that you can see all over this highway that I was mentioning. You know, these very big, monstrous hotels that are all you can eat and all you can drink, and, you know, luxury all over the place. So on my first visit, I made a drawing that is not here. Sorry. That I wanted to, as I was telling you, I wanted to go on the contrary and just do simple gestures, going not driven by this I don't know, this pretentious architecture in a way. As you may all know, this came in my mind when I was visiting the place, you know. This drawing by Venturi and Scott Brown. So I wanted to, as I was telling you, I wanted to go in the opposite direction, just be silent, as I was telling you at the beginning, almost trying to not being there. So that was the site. It's the bigger place that we've worked on. This was a site of 5 hectares, so it's a big thing. And this was our first project that we were not working on this domestic scale, um, and we were working on a completely different context, where we had a desert, extreme temperatures, very hot during summer days, and obviously it affected the vegetation, which is magnificent, and the site had this very accidented topography, so we understood the place, and this is the drawing, the first drawing I made on my first visit that I was trying to tell you. So this is a section that I made really quick on the car when I was leaving the site, which is this far part of the left part of the drawing, which is this big hotel, this monstrosity, this architecture approach of saying, I'm here, come over, I'm very luxurious, I'm almost shining in a way. And then there's the highway, this silent cut through, and then this was our site. So what I wanted to do is just fill it up with as much as I could, with a garden, with trees, and the vegetation that is from there, and just be as silent as possible. And we were asked on a specific program that we had to work with 7 tennis courts, some architecture program with offices, building for the tennis players, a food court, and this is a sport complex. It's called Cabo Sport Complex, and as some of you may know, the orientation of the tennis court have to be faced north-south way. So that gave us our first hint. We had to place them as they are, and we also came with so we balanced it with a east-west trajectory that you could walk in a way. So when this north, south, east, west crossed paths, in a way, architecture emerged. So this is the drawing on the left. You can tell the red lines that I drew that cross over with the north, south, east, west, and then these very rectangular horizontal buildings would come up in a very serene way, or a very quiet way, just these walls that could extend all over the place, and that was it, a wall. We had to face the condition that it's a very hot weather. We had to block as much as we could the south facade, so we wouldn't have the light coming in through the buildings. And that was another drawing that I made with this vegetation all over the place, and just these walls surrounding or just walking with the user, and behind those walls the architecture would be. And again, we blocked the south facade with this huge, very thick sand or earth, rammed earth walls, so we could all block completely, no windows, just a couple of patios, so we could work with the cross ventilation, and almost all the spaces were these big rectangular forms, because we had to work with the idea that we couldn't do a specific space because there were tons of activities year round going in and out. So we had to come up with these open spaces that we could have different conditions on different events and so on. And that's the first model that we did, trying to evoke that pre-Hispanic condition of these pyramids that we have them all around the country, as I was telling you at the beginning, that I love to visit every time I can, because I'm interested, of course, in the architecture that is there, but also in the negative spaces that these pyramids and these paths live in between. And for me, that is also magnificent. So we brought up that idea to the project. We wanted to work with platforms, walkthroughs, roads, and then architecture could be just silent behind, not screaming in any way. The only part of the project that we wanted to be more taller was the entrance, so everybody that was visiting the place could notice that the entrance. So we built a tower, a little tower over there, and these are the pictures of the final project. Again, very, very dense, very this approach of just squeezing architecture up through the bringing architecture up through just like pulling it up off the ground, bringing it up in a way. And that is one of the main courts. We worked again on these pre-Hispanic approaches of really this emptiness, these negative spaces that were underneath, and these platforms that later on could be used as benches for the people to watch the game. This architecture being just completely silent. These pictures were taking I think a year or a little bit more ago. Now the vegetation is way much denser, and architecture has just happened to completely disappear in a way which is magnificent. Again, how the floor plans worked, we just centralized, as you can see over here on these grayer, darker spaces, or that we centralized the services, and the rest was just this open, more open spaces. Sorry, I thought it was misunderstood the. And then facing north, we could open the windows, these views, way much in a way in a more open approach, because the sun wouldn't bother you, and we could have these big windows facing north, and again to these inner courtyards, inner patios, and we could work with crossed ventilations. If we, as you can see on the drawing on the left part, that we could work with inner patios, and then this glass facade, we could open them up and just bring in the ventilation. The space would be open, would be way more cooler. And as you can see, what I was telling you, the approach was these vast open spaces, as simple as possible, for really it to be moved or rearranged depending on the specific event that would be done on a specific date. And these open spaces, this intention of integrating the architecture with the outer spaces, these courtyards that I was talking earlier, and this intention of always looking and embracing nature in many different ways on the bathrooms, instead of having the regular mirror or wall behind the sink, you could have this open view towards these enormous patios. And see, and that is a model of the project. And what I like about this model is it's again these empty spaces, these negative spaces, these trajectories, these walks, these, I forget the words in English, but these taludes, these platforms, all these ways in which the user can walk around, and really the architecture could be on a second plan or right behind these walls, and for many users, for not even noticing that there is construction on the site. You could always walk and just see these rammed earth walls and really not understand what's behind them. And you only use these open, vast platforms all around. And for me, that is very, very important. And the picture on the right is the project as it is right now. We are still developing it. We are now, I would say, around 50% advanced. So we still have a long way to go, but it's a working process. And that is it. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you understood me as I was talking about all these things, and thank you.
Thank you, Hector. That was wonderful. I think we do have time for some questions, if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask.
Thank you.
Can you hear me on this microphone, just to make sure?
Me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Thank you very, very much. And I don't.
Can you, if you stop sharing your screen, your face will get bigger.
Sorry.
Oh, that's good. Yes. Good to see you bigger.
Thank you.
My question is, and I don't
Thank
mean
you.
to be nostalgic either, but just as your city was built on a lake that is no more, our city was built in an oak forest that is rapidly disappearing. And we have lovely pine trees too, as you do. Does your city regulate how you treat your trees? Because you seem to value them so much more.
Yeah, unfortunately, as I would want to, no. We have tons of things going around the city and the country, and it's more of a personal approach than of a strict regulation, because there is regulation in some parts. It's tighter than others, but there's always corruption in the city and in the country, and as long as you have money, unfortunately, there's sometimes that you can do whatever you want. So no, there is regulation, but it's not that strict in a way. So we as architects have a lot of work to do around that, because we don't want to just tear the whole thing down, because we have a magnificent country, not just in a cultural way, but also in a natural way. So unfortunately, we have to keep on fighting, and we have to come. We as architects have to really understand and really work and trying to come up with good solutions for everyone, not just the developer or the architect or the, you know, we have to balance, as I'm sure you all do on your country and on other spaces, on other places. Sorry.
My question is, for most of your projects, it feels like majority of the materials are rocks and stones, and you also have some little bit of timber. Is I wonder, is there any logic behind using a certain amount of wood and certain amount of rock? Is there?
Well, that's a good question. I really liked it. There is no specific logic, but I'm very fond of really working with natural materials. As I was telling you at the beginning of the conference, I'm very interested in doing architecture in a temporal way. I don't know if that's the correct word in English, but I always try to think of how the projects would evolve through time and how would they look if they were ruins, you know, as the ruins that I showed you at the beginning, you know. So in a way, I always try to think of my project as how would they look in ruins after the years would come, and if they would look as nice as I see now, a pyramid or a house or whatever that's been through the years and through many things. So there's no specific. I only try to work with natural materials. I like textures, and I like the atmospheres that these natural materials can bring and can put up in a specific place, and doing it, working like in a local approach, you know, trying to understand the place that I'm working, to search or look for the materials that are that could be work that could be done there, or that I could manage to have there around the area. So that's my intention with the materials.
This question will be good.
Hector, first of all, thank you for your lecture and your time today. It was really a joy to get to see a lot of the imagery and hear the story behind the project. I alluded to this in the introduction, but there seems to be an incredible groundswell of energy, specifically in Latin America and South America, of just an incredibly talented generation of architects that seem to be practicing in a way that is more sensitive and understanding of their local condition rather than a worldwide condition. I wonder how you see yourself in relation to that group, and if you have an explanation for what kind of shifts took place that have led the kind of acceleration in quality and I don't know, just an incredible amount of quality in the architecture that's coming out of that your area.
Thank you. Thank
that
you.
Fell apart, but
yeah, thank you. I think one of the greatest things to be working on Mexico and in Latin America also is that we and that's a positive thing, that we lack of that amount of regulation, you know, of strict rules, and just having to work with, globally in a way that standardized everything, you know, windows, doors, frames, you know, we and I'm very fortunate to be working on Mexico because we could very much do everything in a more artisan approach. Am I saying it correctly?
Yes.
I think with that, one of the reasons is that we're fortunate to be working on these conditions, and specifically in Mexico, we don't have or at least in Mexico City, we don't have an extreme climate, so we don't have to have this window framing, for to be completely, I don't know the word in English, to be completely insulated. Am I saying it correctly? So we could work with the local, with the local person that has been doing window framing for 3 generations, and they know this approach in a very, handmade approach. So I like a lot to talk to these guys. They're some of them are my friends. We sit, we chat, we discuss these ideas, and again, we don't have that strict regulation with tons of industrialized materials. So we're freer in a sense. I believe my Mexican generation, we are, because I have tons of friends, colleagues, and all that. We're probably asking the same question in a way, and answering it in tons of different ways, again, we're fortunate to be working on Mexico, and I think that has a lot to do with what you were saying of this. I forgot the word that you said, but this quality of architecture that we are bringing up and putting on the table for discussion. And it's just that we are centering again, I think, on the human experience, or at least we're focusing on the human relation with architecture a lot. And I believe that also has to do with the results and the quality that we are trying to do in Mexico and Latin America. But I don't know. That's the thing that I'm feeling right now.
I think most of us are going to move to Mexico City, is what we've just
You're
learned.
more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
Are there any last questions? Or yes.
Hola, Hector. Muchas gracias.
Hola.
I'm from Mexico City, so I really enjoyed your talk.
Buenísimo.
Yeah. I was wondering if you have any Mexican artists or architects that influence your work.
Oui. Yes, there are lots. There's tons of architects. Of course, there is Barragán. I would say that that's the first name that came into my mind right now. Barragán. Mario Pani, Juan O'Gorman, that previous generation. There's also artistas, pues bueno, hay infinidades de fotógrafas, sorry, I said it in Spanish. There's lots of influence. I can't mention them all, but yes, of course, and I can't think of more specific. You just got me in the middle of a cure. Writers, of course, there's Juan Rulfo. What else? Poets, music, everything. I try to be a sponge. To absorb as much as I can and to learn and keep on learning. Hopefully, till the day we all pass on to the other spectrum. So I think that I'm really interested in continue learning because I believe we never stop learning and we can't think that we've learned enough. So I'm open. I'm just keep on searching and talking and discussing with colleagues, with artists, with musicians. I try to keep my head thinking and questioning and with my family, and yes, that's pretty much it. Sorry.
Well, Hector, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
No, thank you. And